please.
Good evening. Welcome to the City of Laconia, April 5th, 6th, 2022 meeting of the Conservation Commission. I'm Dean Anson.
Deb Williams.
Bob Harrington.
Lisa Moran.
Michael Foot.
Stacy Susie.
Taylor Daigle.
And we have a guest.
And my name is Ruth O'Hara.
Welcome. Okay, so now that we have we've done the roll call, we have a quorum, which is good news, and we start off by saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Okay, so, should we ask Ruth to tell us about herself, or?
The minutes.
You just
I
wanna
would
watch.
go ahead
With your agenda?
Ruth is just here to observe.
Observe, okay,
And
okay.
I promised her it would be worth her viewing.
Uh-oh.
Okay, well, I did
Pressure.
my
I
joke.
said
If
it's a
anybody else has got a good
pressure
joke,
run.
you know, please, pitch right in. Okay, so, let's start off with let's start off with the review of the minutes from the previous meeting. That would be March 16th, 2022.
Mr. Chair, I'll need to abstain as I wasn't here.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to accept as written, unless anybody has any other.
I'll second.
Okay, anybody have any comments?
I'm just going to inquire if on the, was it the Province Street Apartments? If, the dog park, as it was mentioned in the minutes, if they've been kept apprised of what's going to be happening as an abutter. They're not really officially an abutter because the city of Laconia owns the property, but it's very much of interest to that group, what's happening with that parcel.
Do you know who runs that?
Ginny Martin,
Ginny Martin?
yeah, I think, I can send you her contact information. We had
That'd be
discussed
great.
this
I'll make sure she gets
with
notified.
Ashley, but, okay.
Okay, anybody else have any comments? Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anybody oppose? Okay, thank you. Okay, old business. Old business? Old business. How do I get out of this? There we go. No old business?
No, I didn't put the master plan on there because I have not received any comments from anyone. If we would like to put it back on for the next meeting, we can do that. I did present it to the master plan steering committee at their last meeting, just like 2 or 3 weeks ago or so, and asked them for input as well. So I'm waiting to hear back from some of those members just to see how they feel about the chapter and, you know, all that, and kind of go from there. I'm not sure if the next step will be planning board or back here or what kind of changes might be asked of, but they seem to like it off the bat, so that was good.
Okay, so the document we're talking about is the natural resource section of the City of Laconia Master Plan. And I think what I would like to do is, we have the goals that are in the last 2 pages, and I would like to start to address those goals. And if anybody has any comments on the rest of the document, please, you know, you can just email them to Taylor. But I would like to start to work on these goals In particular, the first one is, deals with water quality and quantity, both surface water and groundwater. And I would like to start to work on those because, for me, we are the water, and if the water's not clean, we're gonna lose some of our appeal to both in-town residents and those that are coming to visit our city. The other thing I would like to do is I would like to move goal number 3, which is, it deals with climate change, up to be goal number 2, and have goal number, which is goal number 2 now, which is dealing with the community character. Make that goal number 3. I think that climate change is really critical.
Yeah, so I do have an updated, look of the goals section, based on what we talked about last time, so I do have climate change listed as the second one. Community character, I incorporated into some of the other goals, because I think we talked about removing that and the education goal and tying those into all of the other ones. So that's just where that stands right now, but.
Okay, thank you. And I think one of the things we need to do is we need to start communicating with our citizens. And so maybe one of the things we can do is we have these maps that show where conservation lands are, what the zoning is like in different areas, and I think that if we can start to put that out into public areas, particularly the library, that would be a way to start to communicate with people so that they learn more about the city, and perhaps they would have some suggestions and comments, etc.
Yeah, I'm gonna plan on getting in contact with the library and see if we can maybe get a bulletin board space where we can post some of our maps and, maybe just ask general questions, or like an FAQ about the commission, or, if you have a conservation project in mind, email myself and the conservation email and whatnot.
Okay. Anybody have any other ideas where we can?
Well, Meredith put theirs right in the paper.
Okay.
Occasionally you'll see they're talking about one of their trails on their easements or whatever. And then, of course, those trails are marked when you're there and everything, so I don't know if we have anything even comparable to that, but probably Pickerel Pond would be.
I could maybe design something for, just advertising the Pickerel Pond Conservation Area, that it's got the parking lot and the public
So
access.
they don't end up in my yard with their fishing poles, looking longingly
In your pond?
while I go to work
What time do you go to work?
early. It's okay, I get cameras.
What?
Nothing.
What about Laconia Links? Is that a free service?
Yeah, every Friday, you're talking about the e-news?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a part of the whole city structure, right?
Yeah, Nancy runs it every week, so I can periodically add, if we're like, oh, we should advertise this, I can make a little graphic and put it in there.
You have any idea how much flow goes through that? How many people look at things?
I'm not sure. I think maybe Nancy might have some numbers from the website.
Just curious how much awareness
there's
there is,
I
I
got
mean,
a lot of flack when she had a broken leg, I think, and couldn't
Yeah.
do it. There was actually a lot of talk about where was it.
She
So-
has it as a link now rather than just the document, so she probably does have some analytics on how many people open it or whatever.
Plus,
Yeah.
a lot of people
I've
contribute.
got to get back on the link. When I had to change my email address, I lost that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, but I need to check with city clerk to do that, or? Nancy?
It should be on the website,
was
but it's
just
with
looking
Nancy
for
Brown,
it.
yeah, she's
Yeah,
in charge
yeah,
of
yeah.
the
Yeah,
links.
it does have a subscribe, unsubscribe.
If you go to City of Laconia,
Mhm.
you can get onto it there.
Yeah, okay.
We have access to, Pickerel Pond. Are there any trails around it?
Not that I know of, unless they're in Meredith. I think that's something that we should consider as a next step with the property. If we're gonna advertise it as, you know, public, go use this. I mean, the logging trails there, they can get to the water. But aside from that, I have not walked the property, so I'm not sure what there is for trails.
It's mostly wet, like
I don't,
swampy.
But even, you have less chance of getting run over going down Pickerel Pond Road than you do going down the boulevard.
Sure.
So, whatever attraction can be brought in for bicycles.
are we suggesting we want mountain bikes up around Pickerel Pond?
Sure. What's wrong with mountain bikes? It's the biggest thing going right now.
Well, then you also need to figure in trail maintenance.
But you only have one trail in. And 33 feet away from it, is there any sort of facilities or not?
It's just,
You mean like a Porto San?
Or something? I'm just asking. I mean, once you open these things up, once I started asking questions about stuff, the first question is, well, where does everybody go?
yeah,
And just, I'm not saying this or that, I'm just saying as a fact of consideration as you start to promote it. Not that you want an attractive nuisance.
so, I guess I would opt for no mountain bikes, just because of the way they tear up the trails, is what but now that leads me to the next question. If the city wants to start more trails, more thoughts about having other trails, is there gonna be a committee or commission within the city structure, or are they gonna look to a board like us to do that, or?
I think it'll come from a combination of this board and Parks and Rec in the planning office. I don't know how much work goes into that. I'm not really familiar with trail system design or anything like that.
Well, I'm just, with my familiarity with Gunstock and, you know, that, so, and the upkeep of that, and also with the Belknap Range Conservation Coalition and constant discussion about trail erosion and use. That's kind of where I was going with my thoughts.
One of the biggest attractors for North Conway is the section of trails that go through it that are accessible by visitors and locals alike. So when you think about development and an attraction that you want to bring into your community, these are the type of accesses you're going to have.
So I guess what I was thinking, like where I was going with that was, unless you're going to establish a fund, have a line item for monies to be doing trail maintenance and repairs, you might not want to invite them in. I'm not saying I don't want to ever see I don't want to ever see mountain bikes out there, but I would rather not see them out there if there's going to be no follow-up on maintenance for, you know, erosion and all that.
Wouldn't it be nice if we had a mountain bike trail that went all the way from Lakeport to the Weirs
It would,
along a regular grade, I don't know, something like a railroad?
it would be wonderful as long as,
And to connect these communities, which we've talked about so much before. I think instead of we can't because and what about, I think we need to be going to, we have over 400 new housing starts in the city of Laconia with more to come. And in my world, when I look at the woman who is walking across my field, yeah, I get current news, with no doggy bag for her doggy, or anybody else who just wants to access. I think in this here, it needs to be built as an actual attraction and a part of what we offer as a community.
and if we want to put a line item budget of $5,000 a year for trail maintenance on certain sections, not for all trails, but on certain sections, identify it, I'm fine with it. What I'm not fine with is, in 3 years, having a $25,000 project we're trying to get money from the Trails Bureau from to fix the erosion and the slide and you know, that's where I'm going with it.
Okay, so what I would like to do is have Taylor talk to Dean to find out how we set up a trail system, maintenance, who's going to establish it, who's going to, you know, where's the money going to come from for, you know, maintenance and construction.
I would point out here that if we were going to look forward, and I myself am going to participate in it because it is a part of my interest, is in North Conway at the Crawford Notch here on the 16th. They're having a symposium for outdoor recreation, being able to create outdoor recreation, to be able to provide it with stuff that is built locally, vice in some country that is way to the west of us, and be able to do it with a sense of community and sustainability using locally produced equipment.
And you may also want to contact Barbara Richter at New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions to see if she can't pair us up with another conservation commission that's already done a lot of trail work. Like, you know, have them be sort of our mentor. Certainly attend that symposium.
North Conway, I dropped the name North Conway again.
I understand
as
that.
having one of the most comprehensive. And what?
Guilford?
Meredith?
Who takes care of Guilford's trails?
They have a Belknap Mountain Range group.
The Brad's group.
But even, do they do the ones that are like, that one that's right in town and everything? That is
I
right
don't know if
across
that's
from,
part of their Parks and Rec. I don't know.
Yeah.
right
So
across from the
What
fire
was the
station?
name?
Barbara Richter, who's the executive director. So she may say, contact North Conway. She may also go, oh, contact Henniker, because I'm thinking of
Henniker has a good one. It goes all the way up the Kentucky River, almost to Warner.
yeah.
And that's one of the bigger things that would tie into a regional trail system.
Right, so that's all, so I'm not saying, oh, we can't do it, and I'm putting my foot down right now before we've even gotten anywhere with it. I'm just trying to be thinking proactively about approaching any problems that we know have occurred in other places, and not having to backpedal and trying to cost more money to fix something that we might have anticipated.
We went up,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You're going to go to the conference on the 16th?
I believe I am,
Okay.
for my own interest.
Okay, would you bring back information to this commission so that we, you know, don't start with a blank piece of paper, please?
Right. And this is all part of the Granite Outdoor Alliance, you know, Granite State Outdoor Alliance, the White Mountain Backcountry Alliance, and some of these other groups who are definitely utilizing their access. Most of this access is on state forest land and stuff like that. So, but still, North Conway is able to charge a pass for maintenance for the community trails. And I think that we should be looking at stuff like that.
Sure.
Over the past couple meetings, we had a discussion about RR1 and RR2 and what is a scenic road. I neglected to bring it from my front porch this afternoon, but there's a map for the Lakes region, and in it, it shows the Lakes region tour. These are designated roads that are scenic roads. It's amazing how much is actually in Laconia. And these are the things that also get passed out when they do the motorcycle maps. and loops and stuff like that to go on these scenic roads and enjoy our community. But in this, again, looking at it, they have 106, they have White Oaks Road, they have 11B, of course, all the way around the lake, and it goes up through Waukee-Lawn into Plymouth and Ashland. And this is what is designated for this area.
Okay, so the other thing, Bob, are there bulletin boards at the Taylor community where we could put information up about the city in terms of zoning, where are the scenic roads, where's, so that I feel like Taylor community is over here and we're over here.
Yes,
And
I think you're very,
how do we get,
well,
invite,
I'm not sure. I haven't found a sort of general billboard of information. There's bits and pieces here and there, and a lot of it comes by way of emails and printed documents. But I can look into it.
do you have a website for the Taylor community?
There is a website for the Taylor community, and I can check to see whether there's a way that a link can be incorporated in that.
That would be great.
Yeah,
That would be great.
We do have a forming group right now on that is very interested in introducing local native shrubs, particularly ones that are flowering and have fruit for birds and others.
Okay.
And it may be a little bit of work to do it because most of the areas, if they're mowable, they're being mowed. In fact, it looked like at the head of my road, they cut down 3 pine trees, this big round, dug up their stumps, and it's a clear area for the mower to run through. And I don't know why they did that, other than to make it easier for the mowers to get around. That's the mindset that seems to be growing on the administration. Whether there's going to be any connection between the resident interest in these things and the administration, we'll have to see.
Okay, if you can figure out a way for us to, this Conservation Commission to get, Deb and I have gone up and talked to people up there, and, if there's a way that we can invite your residents here, that would be great.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna bring up something in a little while that Taylor and I have talked about. that-
Yeah, and this small group, it's about half a dozen or more folks have been talking back and forth on emails. And the next thing that we're planning to do at some point is to get the group together, first to talk about what we want to do, and then walk the campus and see if there are areas where there might be pockets of these things. Well, one example might be, we've got 3 big stormwater containment basins. If they've got anything in them now, it's mostly cattails.
Cattail's
I don't know
good.
if be willing to introduce something like winterberry or something like that into those areas.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good idea, and if we can help in any way,
Yeah, okay,
please,
yeah.
just let me know.
Okay.
Dean, they do have a mail room in the apartment building. That is quite a.
Yes, yes.
That's a gossip zone.
It's limited in
I put a
bulletin
notice
space.
up there once,
Yeah,
and that
yeah,
got
and I'm not sure
read.
just how much people pay attention to it. I don't
I
have no,
found that they did,
do you think they do?
yeah,
Yeah.
especially if you have color to it.
Yeah, and most likely it's the residents of Woodside that do it,
Right.
yes.
Yeah, I don't know how, do they all have individual mailboxes for the little homes that are
Oh,
outside of
the
that?
cottages?
Yeah,
Oh, that's all rural mailbox.
got you,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, another old business is Lake Coast.
Lake Coast, the grant is in. It looks like we'll probably get $1,000. We'll hear about that next month. I don't know why we wouldn't get it. I think we will. So,
And-
and then if we add, did you say we had 1,000 set aside here? So that's 2,000. So that would give us, a good 12 weeks. 6 hours a day, 12, for the weekends anyway. I mean, we could definitely pay at least $12 an hour.
Okay, and you said you had some candidates to be Lake Host?
Yes, and you had one, I had one, I've had a couple of emails with prospective people from New Hampshire Lakes, so I think we're gonna be in good shape. The Lake Opeechee Preservation people should be back May 1st. They're away for the winter. So, they might want to throw in some more money too. So when I filled in the grant, I put that in the box at the end that we could possibly be getting some more funding. Because what we'll do is we give that money to New Hampshire Lakes and they take care of the payroll. So,
And I think they charge us 15% of the payroll, isn't that right? To administer it, is that right? Or no?
it's part of the match, I think.
I don't
I
know.
think that's included.
Okay, so, all right, so I think
There's-
what we have to do is start to commit to individuals to be lake hosts, so they don't take jobs doing something else. So I have a person who's interested, I don't know how old they are, but there's an intermediary, and I told her that the person had to be 16.
Right.
So if we could start to nail down people to be the lake hosts, so we don't wind up scrambling at the end of school trying to find some kid who,
I think we'll be good this year.
okay,
I'm optimistic. Last year I was not, this year I am,
okay,
so.
good, thank you.
Just regarding that, when do you guys usually start Lake Host?
So, and it's all dependent on the grant that we get.
Yeah.
We have usually started there, we have usually done July and August
Okay.
on the weekends. I'm hoping we could get enough for maybe the last 2 weeks of June to go through Labor Day. That would be great.
Okay. I was just curious.
And we do have to be, send in our membership. I don't know if we've done that yet, that $500 membership.
I'll look into it.
New
I'm
Hampshire
not
Lakes.
sure if I've done that. Kalina might have done it. She kind of handles the money
Yeah,
for that,
it's
but
a
I'll check on her.
yearly
Yeah.
membership, and that entitles us to the grant also.
Okay, thank you. Any other old business?
There was I saw it in I guess the New Hampshire Bulletin, but I think it may have also been in the Daily Sun about the Old State School is officially on the market now. The Old State School properties, yep. And they made some reference to moving the 911, which I was surprised because I thought they had cut that parcel out of that property.
Also, I thought
As
they
an
had just
easement?
redone it not too long ago.
Well,
Or updated.
I don't know if this was accurate, but they made some reference to moving the 911 to adjacent state lands. I don't know what that means.
Oh.
And that in the New Hampshire Bulletin article, at least, they made reference to the fact that, I think it was, they said that George Bald had said, you better talk to the people in the city of Laconia if you want this to be a go, you know? So anyway, just kind of letting everybody know.
What's the asking price?
I didn't say anything like that. It was just that this 200 plus, or 216 acres is now on the market, so.
From the planning office, I don't know anything about it in particular.
Well, Dean was following it, so.
Yeah, he's been working on it a lot, so I can see if he's got any input. I do know they found a lot more wetlands on the property than they thought they were going to, so whatever happens there, we'll have some protections, and I'm sure we'll be involved at some point on it, so.
I go up there and walk sometimes, not sometimes, I go up there and walk a lot of times. And I was up there when they were doing the survey and identifying the wetlands. So that was refreshing.
So I was wondering, as you were talking about the trails, if this isn't, because it ties in with Ahern and the fact that that system's heavily utilized. And it's still state property, so it's not like, but I'm just kind of wondering if that's also something that Laconia might want to take an interest on if we're looking at the trails development and all that, so.
Yeah, I mean, one of the, I don't know what people have spoken about as far as what they want to see in there. I know residential development and mixed use has been discussed, and if that were the case, I think we could probably propose, one of the community amenities for having that property could be extending the trail system through the woods there or something like that.
So in the New Hampshire Bulletin article, it pretty much that same track of a lot of different uses on that, develop, not just one thing or whatever, so.
And I would say in this, because the amount of property that's owned in Laconia by the state of New Hampshire, that we ought to be able to take Mr. Crowder, their outdoor recreation guru, and who's also had his finger in the pie over there at the state school for athletic developments and stuff like that. Certainly, once again, to be an attractor for our community is to see what they say about building a comprehensive group of trails in the area that actually run all the way from Belmont to Meredith.
Would be nice to have a trail up to Robbie Mills
And beyond,
from Ahern.
sure.
Well, the road is paved from Robbie Mills all the way down to Ahern.
It is, okay.
It's paved, you can walk
Is
from
it-
Robbie Mills parking lot down through the back, and it's all
Right.
there's a gate there, so you can't drive through.
I was gonna
which is
say, I didn't
good.
know if there was any private
Yeah,
land.
or if there's any inhibitors like fences, gates, signs.
There's a gate.
Is it a real gate, or is it the one that the locals ignore?
No, you can't get, this is like a significant gate.
Gate to block cars, but not
Mhm.
pedestrians.
Right,
Okay,
right, you can step over the gate, the chain, or you can walk around the posts, but you can't drive around. And there's, if we're going to talk about Ahern and kind of advertise Ahern, I think we need to work with the state to make sure that they pick up the garbage. They gotta have a dumpster there to pick up the garbage, you gotta have porta sands, just like Mike talked about before. But I've gone there, and people who come and use it, abuse it. They'll drop their trash, and it's, I think Lisa has called in the past to ask them to come and pick it up. Anyway, so we just need to make sure that the state maintains it. And the gates into Ahern are open. I think they've been open, no, one of them is not open, but anyway, because there's snowmobile trails in there, cross-country skiing, whatever you want to do, so, anyway. Okay, any other old business? Okay, so let's do new business. So Taylor, you wanna talk about the lady who called?
Yeah, so I got a call from a property owner on Pleasant Street.
Mhm.
So there are two images attached to the agenda.
That's Pleasant Street?
Yep, yeah, Pleasant Street is all the way on the right. One is just, it's in the winter, one is in the summer, just so you can see the tree cover there. She called because she watches our meetings on YouTube the day after, and she liked the discussion that we had about conservation easements and, dedicating some to wildlife habitat. And she thought the area behind her property, that you can see on the images, they're long, deep properties, so they all have fairly large backyards. And she was thinking of getting her neighbors together and creating an easement specifically for wildlife and habitat. But if they can get all the properties to agree, it could also connect up to the Pleasant Street School and the woods that they have back there, so potentially also educational opportunities there where they can, designate some of the uses to the Pleasant Street School. So we spoke a bit, and Dean spoke to her as well. I don't know if you grabbed more from the input, but I think she was working on talking to her neighbors and seeing what the interest level is in this. And kind of related, I know she's looking at an easement, not giving the land away or selling the land to the city, but by the end of the fiscal year, our current use balance will be up to about 54,000. So since
Now, this is only a half-acre piece.
Yep, but she
And what's the access behind it, that road there behind it?
so there's a very small, thin parcel at the very back of her property. That's a right of way for the city.
For the city?
I'm not sure what the right of way specifically is for, but that's what I've been told. And then that larger property, the square one behind her, used to be a bull pasture. There's no more. The property owner doesn't have the bull anymore, so she was like, maybe he'd be interested in also joining in. So it's really dependent a little bit on if the neighbors would like to contribute as well, because it would be a small parcel if it's just hers. But conservation's conservation.
Yeah, but most of that is over 10 acres.
Most
of what?
Most of what we
Most of what we see for conservation easements,
Right.
if you're going to go into current use or anything like that.
So I talked to the lady and I told her that I thought that this was an interesting concept because our current use easement is 10 acres or more. But that, given that there's residential areas in the city, wouldn't it be interesting to have an alternative so that if you had a half an acre that you wanted to essentially preserve for wildlife, not necessarily, because she said she wasn't necessarily interested in the tax benefit as much as the philosophical benefit of having an undeveloped land where she could observe wildlife. And she said that's one of the reasons that she was doing this, because she wanted, and she and her neighbors enjoy looking at the birds and the squirrels and the foxes and whatever else is out there. So I thought it was an interesting idea because we don't have anything like that.
So the city doesn't have like an active green space committee now. So, this may again be a catalyst for, just to have a committee to formally scope out, or, these kind of green spaces that aren't necessarily recreation spaces, but provide a service to the county, to the city. I'm seeing that it does, I think, back up to the Pleasant Street School area.
Not really?
If,
Yeah.
Two
if her
lots
neighbors,
over
if
is
her
the
neighbors,
field, yeah.
if her neighbors agree, not her property, but if her neighbors agree.
Right.
So thank you for the clarification, Mike. But I think too, I mean, if, I think if we're gonna need to start formalizing what kinds of easements and, you know what I'm trying to say? If this isn't really going to be like
It's not as much as an easement as it is a commitment by the owner to not develop it.
right, but but it says in our agenda, an easement acquisition, so that's what I'm
Right,
trying to
right.
say, I think we're
Right,
gonna
well,
need
we
to
didn't-
firm up
We don't
our.
have another category.
Exactly,
Right.
but maybe we could be creating one and encouraging this kind of activity, especially if we're going to be formally reducing our green space requirements per lot, you know what I mean?
In
Have
certain
you guys
sections.
looked at that to see what it actually is? Once again, my whole concept of showing some of that with the setbacks and everything. You're not giving away the farm in it.
I guess I'm
Yeah,
not
but that,
following
wait
you,
a minute,
Mike.
wait a minute, that's a different topic. We're talking about having, and Lisa, I think you came up with a good term, which is green space, a commitment to green space. That's not a legal commitment, it's the owner has made a commitment to not develop this land and leave it natural, wild, whatever you want. So I think that's, given that we don't have anything right now, is there a way we can develop something? Does any other
Yeah,
municipality have something?
I can do some research on that because I don't know if it's not anything legally binding, then it's a situation of just good faith, which is a great start, but as soon as neighbor A sells their home and a developer says, I wanna put a duplex there if they can or something, now you've just made that null.
Even if you skip the access area, which is city of Laconia, and go into the bowl field, and that guy, from Sarasota, Florida, buys into it, that's still just 1.3 acres. Just saying what we're,
But I thought
So
the other
what?
properties were, I thought the property, heading north, if you're going up, that, I thought she was looking to get the other landowners up to the school to also agree, so it would be kind of a green alleyway, if
Just
you
a,
will.
yeah, corridor, green
I do
space
think
corridor.
the general area is 3 to 4 acres, the total, if all those neighbors agreed.
Yeah,
But
and
it's dependent.
just to kind of maybe address the situation, just so there's no confusion on the committee, the commission. So Mike, I'm not opposed to the.
no, I'm not
adjustment.
feeling in opposition, I'm just
Okay, well,
discussing.
Well, when you mentioned about the green space, it wasn't, you said this was like, not like we're
This
giving away
point
the
of
farm.
reality.
No, and I agreed with that when we were discussing it with Dean, and I didn't see a problem with that, and I voted for it. I just meant in consideration of the fact that there are gonna be some areas of town that we may have less green space now, if we have other areas where we have interested people, wanting to conserve that green space. It might be nice to be able to give them some sort of formalized way to do that. That's all I meant, so.
And, and I don't even know if I think if the planning department can put together like a concept that we could use, would the city, I don't know, give them a tax break? Would they give them something else in lieu of?
What kind of incentive?
Yeah, or just even if it's just a public recognition
Certificate.
of what they're doing.
They can have
Yeah.
a certificate,
A certificate.
that they pledge to keep the green space, whatever size they, just,
Because one of
Agree
the
on.
things, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm done.
So one of the things that we've done is we've supported wildlife corridors. And so, this, according to my conversations with the lady, this would be a corridor up to, she said, I think she said Robbie Mills.
I believe if you follow the track of the woods, it would go up to Pleasant Street, goes to the state school, and goes to Aarn, yeah.
So, and that's, from a conservation standpoint, that's an important, important piece to the puzzle, I think.
I think if the city were truly going to commit to it, they'd put some sort of easement on the backside of the Pleasant Street School where all the wetlands are. In that there, you would have a better chance of creating a through trail. Beyond that, the
The incentive for the school to do that was that they could probably qualify for more different kinds of grants for the students if they had conserved area behind the school rather than just open.
So maybe, so that we don't monopolize the time with this, maybe the way to do it is to ask the planning department to come back with some kind of ideas of a concept paper.
certainly if you're going to get into that type of thing, and you were to look at the Pleasant Street School, especially along the area where the wet areas are, you'd look to this 13-acre piece to the north of it as a place to bring your trail to the northwood and get to those actual places. That's a commitment from someone else. I wish I had maps on this.
Okay,
I'm really not texting my girlfriend. I'm
Sure.
trying, but looking at that there, that's a way that, you start to build it in. I can say these names, but we're not, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think from a natural resource standpoint, that would be a logical thing to do. Is to start to look at city-owned properties that we might be able to put together with adjacent landowners.
Right, in that there, I concur.
I'll talk about it with the department. Dean is on vacation next week, so I don't know how much I can get done in the next 3 days on
Sure.
it, but whether it's for a meeting in May or not, we can talk about it more.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay, stream restoration?
So that was when we were talking about Langley Cove and Trout Unlimited. I think we were thinking we could just maybe brainstorm some areas that we think a stream restoration project would be, like, the most beneficial in the area. So we talked about Langley Cove as maybe it being an alternative to asking or proposing a new dam up there, using some other type of stream restoration project for that.
So, for the conservation district, I think our first step was to visit with Ben Nugent from Fish and Game. Is it a trout stream? Because you were talking about Trout Unlimited. So, I mean, I think Trout Unlimited's focus would be as if it has trout in it.
Yeah, that's the only business
Okay,
name that I know of,
so one of the things that Taylor and I have been doing, and particularly Taylor, is talking to the Antioch intern. And he's been, he's put together GIS documents that show streams and where streams flow. And that what used to be a beaver pond up at, next to Prescott Farm, the dam blew out. And because the dam blew out, it's drained, and when you look at the maps that Patrick has put together, there are a lot of small streams that come into the area where that beaver dam was. And we've been talking to Patrick about areas where we can take action to protect the city in terms of stormwater. So if we could figure out a way to build a dam, quote-unquote dam, up there to stop the water, to hold the
You
water.
gotta call up Mr. Beaver, because that whole thing
gonna
comes
say.
into a whole bunch of responsibility that I can tell you that this city will not want to expend any money on.
Okay, but,
Dams are nice, beavers are nice, but once you start doing it, they're not gonna give money to build a dam. There's not going to be any money to build a dam, but there's plenty of money to remove a dam.
okay, but
Is
that's
what
not
they
what
told
we're talking,
me.
we're not talking about that. I'm talking about preventing a problem. So my idea of preventing a problem, and I talked to Taylor about this, so I'll take responsibility for it, is building a dam there. And, maybe a dam is not the right thing, but it's, we have probably a dozen small streams, class 1 streams, that flow into that area that used to be a beaver pond, and they still flow in, and now they just come down Langley Brook, and they flow into the lake, and they bring all that sediment. So this is a way to hold the water, prevent the sediment from coming into the lake. And so we talked about building a dam. We talked about, I said, well, maybe we get Trout Unlimited to help us put woody material where the dam was to hold it, to
Slow.
Is,
prevent the erosion.
is there a chance that the beaver will return to that area? I mean, the cycle is, if they are there, they chew out their food supply, they move on for 10 years, and then when their food supply starts coming back, they move back in.
And we could put a sign up and inviting them back.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't know
No
when.
idea whether they
I
would
don't know
come
how
or
long,
not.
I don't know how long they haven't been there.
It's been at least 15 years from
Okay.
planning Dean's.
Yeah, so I'm wondering,
Blowout, was that long ago?
Hmm?
When was the blowout?
Hey,
I don't remember. I don't think it was,
The city only had documentation of a dam blowing out higher up on the stream, up in White Oaks Road. Like, I think it was on Prescott Farm, if there was a dam there that blew out like 10 years ago. And
below it.
Dean Trefethen determined that this was a completely separate dam that blew out that we're referring to.
Oh,
right, because these little streams flow into this drainage area, but on the other side of White Oaks Road is where there's also a wetland area. up
Yes,
there.
yeah.
Bob knows that, it
And,
used to be.
And what I guess still shows on the map is an intermittent stream. In recent times, it's been more than intermittent.
Right.
Not a heavy stream,
Right.
but it's there.
is the road endangered of washing out at all?
On White Oaks Road?
No,
No.
the Weirs Boulevard.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just wondering about getting Lakes Region Planning Commission involved, because they would have a pot of money.
Well, so part of the problem with it is that property is owned and it's planned to be developed.
By Brady Sullivan.
Yeah, the game plan is, I think they're trying to start in the summer or the fall. They're working on their permits right now. They're not touching that side of the property, but we don't have any ownership over it, so anything we would want to do does need to go through the owner of the property.
wasn't that their hunting area?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it was just something that Taylor and actually, I'll take responsibility for this crazy idea. I'm the one with the crazy idea, and so I don't know if there are trout in there. If I had to guess, I don't think.
It might be too silted or whatever, but,
It
well, I mean,
might be too small.
there's the other,
Unless there's some residual on the upside of the former dam,
yeah.
that's where you're going to see your brook trout and
So what, if indeed the Brady Sullivan property has interest to them as recreation, perhaps they'd be interested in building a dam and ponding that for fishing.
So that's exactly what we've been
No permits,
discussing.
No, no,
no
wait a minute.
permits
Wait
required.
a minute, no, sarcasm aside,
It's not.
that's exactly my idea,
Oh, okay.
was, I'll take responsibility, because it is a crazy idea.
I don't know how well that'll go over. We haven't sent it to him yet because I have Dean looking at it, but.
Well, maybe we shouldn't have mentioned it. Surprise!
Yeah, no, it's, I think they really wanna work on that
Of
property
this.
and get it done with, so I
There's
don't
this
know how
piece
much
here.
they're
Been
hoping to
so many
do.
years.
Yeah, they've had it.
Is that
13.5 acres.
what area would,
Right, it goes
where
up
the
above
dam went
here,
out?
and it
Is
goes
that separate
to the
from
city of
the,
Laconia, that
pond
goes
at
all the way
the
to
bottom
Blueberry
edge
Lane,
of Prescott
all the way
Farm?
up the stream.
No, that's the pond that
That
was
is the
formed
pond? Yeah.
by the dam.
Okay, yeah, I didn't realize that there was a
Right.
dam on that.
It was quite a high dam, too.
You shouldn't
Yeah.
jump this time when I
Okay.
I just haven't walked on that side of the pond.
Okay, so,
So it's an interesting concept. I believe that you'll find the permitting and stuff like that, where someone to hang a sign on to take responsibility for it would be more prohibitive in their minds than the desire to restore Beaver Dam.
that's why putting woody debris in lieu
That's
of
the best you have, and that is a reasonable discussion, but there's no control. Like a dam.
It, is the outlet to that off Prescott Farm land? You know,
it goes into Langley Brook, which
yeah,
flows down into
yeah,
Langley
yeah,
Cove.
yeah.
Maybe they could do a class.
Do what?
A class.
Yeah, they've done that before. It's been a while since we've taken that walk with Trout Unlimited. We did that over in Gunstock, right? And those guys, it's been at least 4 or 5 years, would probably come out and take a walk on that point. Stuff like that, that's not a bad idea.
So maybe the next step is to talk to Trout Unlimited, see if they would be willing to entertain the idea.
Of talking about it. You're still walking on private land.
Walking on private land, but
As long as you get King
permission,
Brady to
yeah.
acknowledge your passing.
Okay, so we'll talk to Trout Unlimited.
And I have access to the property for inspections
Huh.
as soon as the work starts,
Huh.
so that's another opportunity. I mean, I obviously can't invite people on the property, but I could walk over there and see, take pictures and get an idea for right now, kind of thing.
Okay. Okay,
Can we go back one?
Hmm?
Can we go back one?
back one, sure.
I'm not seeing this piece here that's been proposed as a, high-value, piece for squirrels and salamanders. But going back and headed to the north of that, when you look at the Pleasant Street School, on the west side of that, there's quite a swath of wetlands. To the north of that is an elongated 13.5 acre piece with limited access and a stream through the middle that connects on the north side of that. This is 3 pieces of property, of which 2 are owned by the city of Laconia. Above that, it goes to a piece on Blueberry Lane, which is owned by the city of Laconia. So in that there, if we're looking at trails and stuff like that, I do not see this as a high preservation thing. Utilizing that type of attitude, though, I can definitely see a trail from Pleasant Street School to Blueberry Lane that goes along the river there, the brook in there.
Okay, so maybe the way to approach this is to talk to the city about the properties that we own, and then seeing how we can couple it with those residences that are smaller, but undeveloped, then we can put together a wildlife corridor.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Mike. So the next item on the agenda is Earth Day. And Earth Day is, as usual, April 22nd. And, I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, the little attachment there is just what I designed for the Laconia links. They're gonna put it in for the next 2-3 weeks up until Earth Day, so.
It's cute, I like it, but
Great.
I don't think we have any whales.
Yeah,
We don't want.
No sharks in the lake either.
just change it to a loon, if I could've.
The other thing, Taylor, of just anytime, this isn't, I'm not trying to be mean, anytime you have land meeting water, you need to have buffers. You need to have vegetative buffers, because this kind of is promoting the idea of lawns right up to the water.
I did just pull an image off of Google, so.
I understand, and that's why I said
But
I'm
that's a
not,
good thing to keep in mind.
I'm not, that's why I said I'm not admonishing you, I'm just saying these are the things, like visually, as, you know, what signals are we sending?
Mhm.
Take
Um,
a marker.
Well, no, but I'm just saying, you know, it's like she's saying, oh, there's no whales, well, you know, that's, but it's, this logo design is always what, you know, people start, you think it's gonna be easy, and then you got going on for 4 weeks bickering about stuff, but I'm just pointing that out, so thanks.
Okay, so one of the teachers from the middle school, Susan O.H., and I were talking about the Adopt-A-Spot garden that's over at Opeachy. And we said, boy, there's a lot of work that needs to be done here. And Susan is a scientist and teaches whatever she has to teach at the school, and said, hey, you know, why not for Earth Day have kind of a work party working on that little Adopt-A-Spot area and the surrounding area, picking up trash and trimming overgrown shrubs, and essentially having all 3, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, the students come out and help out and get the Conservation Commission to commit to come and work for, and we don't know the period of time yet, but for a period of time. The same thing with the Conservation District, see if we can get people there to come and,
I'm committed, that's also a work day at Gunstock in the morning.
okay, so,
I'm committed to that, so.
but I'll be there, so, you know.
Okay.
And then people from the planning department, and perhaps some people from Taylor,
I don't know.
because, you know, we're gonna be cutting down there's some, I think there may be birch trees that are growing that have seeded in there, and they're, where they're not supposed to be, they're not supposed to be in ornamental gardens. But, you know, the gardens haven't been maintained, and
Nature takes over.
nature takes over. So nature always wins. And I talked to Amy Levisick at Parks and Rec, and she's gonna supply garbage bags, and will pick up the garbage and any vegetation that we trim and haul it away. So I think it's an opportunity to perhaps get the paper to come and take some pictures so that the students are, you know, they're,
Recognized.
yeah. So,
When you say the paper, do you mean the Daily Sun?
mhm.
Okay.
So anybody have any ideas?
No, I know she's planning, Susan will be bringing out her students during science class. So they're looking to have, you know, the different science classes come out during their scheduled time. So it, you know, it's not gonna be an hour of work for the kids, you know, they'll be out there working for, 30 minutes at a time, probably.
Oh, my goodness.
It's not just the adopted spot, it's all the way down the point though, right? It's not,
Oh, yeah, we're not gonna
Well-
just start it and stop there. We're
Yeah,
gonna
There are
do,
some, there's, around the building, our building even, the school, there's leaves to be raked up and bagged. I know Amy had a group today that was out there on the point. They were gonna be raking some of the pine needles and putting them at the base of the trees so that so the grass could grow in a little better. Raking it off of the beach and stuff, so.
So do you think is it gonna be an all-day thing, as science classes, each period, there's probably gonna be a group out there?
Yeah.
So should it be something like, anyone who can commits to like an hour time frame and hangs out with
Whatever
them?
they can
and
do, sure,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if do we need any kind of specific commitment, or is it just gonna be we can show up?
I would let it just be an open house kind of
Okay.
thing. Because, there'll be a lot of kids. We won't probably have enough equipment for everybody,
I mean,
but they can always pick up garbage,
right.
so.
I think picking up garbage, and trying to get the gardens, not the adopt-a-spot garden, because I don't think we should do anything there except pick up trash. But surrounding that area, around the clubhouse or whatever it's called, there's trash and trees, and so I think if we could get some of that cleaned up, it would certainly be an improvement to the area. It'll give the kids, the reaction that we've gotten when we've taken school kids to do stream cleanup, when we did Black Brook, was, they were like, you mean people throw cigarette butts out on the ground? They're picking up cigarette butts, and they said, I'll never do that. Well, if we can get the kids to learn not to do that at middle school age, it's a major accomplishment, so. Anyway, so I'll get more information from Taylor, and we'll put stuff out so that I'll have Susan OH contact you directly, and then she can tell you what the times are, because there are how many different science classes are there?
Well, in 7th grade,
Yeah,
you've got Wes on the other side.
so at least 2.
Classes?
Yeah.
They each have 4.
They each have 4?
Yeah.
4 science classes?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we have 12 science classes, roughly.
I don't know if all the grades have committed yet.
Okay,
I know she's put it out there, but, it's their choice as to
Okay.
whether they want their students to go out or not,
okay.
so. And what do we wanna do if it rains?
That's when the water's low.
I'm just saying.
And that happens to be the day before you have your vacation, right?
I think it's on a Friday this year.
It is, yeah.
So maybe if the
Bring your
weather's not
steel-toed
good,
shoes.
we could do it on Thursday.
Right.
Okay,
Anybody that volunteers though should bring, if you have breaks or anything, breaks are always a good thing to have. And we do not have enough, so.
right. Okay. Okay, anything else on Earth Day? Okay. DES permits?
Just the email that I sent out, a couple days ago. There's been a couple, but, nothing major. As far as I could tell, it's mostly docks replacements. Yeah. It's what everyone's working on right now, getting ready for the summer, so.
Okay. Other business?
I have one quick thing I guess I could just say. I'm working on the sampling plan for VRAP for DES. It's due in a couple weeks. Right now I have us doing all of the existing stations on Paugus Bay that we've been doing. And I have us, we have to give tentative dates, so I have us on March through one time a month, March through September. So it would be 5 sampling dates.
Are
And
those mostly on a Wednesday?
it's just an estimate for now. I mean,
Yeah.
it'll be totally
I
different.
just,
Yeah.
just the way those guys bounce.
Yeah. And then I just wanted to double check that of the 5, so they can do lab analysis for E. coli, total phosphorus, total nitrogen, chlorophyll A, and chloride. In the past, we've had them do the testing for all of that but E. coli, so I just want to make sure that's what we're all agreeing to still for all the sites.
So this is for VLAP, this is for the lake?
No, this is for the
the-
tributaries.
Yeah.
This is
Okay,
VRAP.
this is VRAP,
Yep.
VRAP, okay. So what's the cost of doing all of these?
So, chlorophyll and chloride are no cost. This actually doesn't have the prices. I think total phosphorus and total nitrogen, I think those were both like $15 a sample. So it adds up, but DES does have some money set aside for that. So that's why they have us, estimate what we want to do, and then they can determine if there's any extra cost needed for it.
How come they don't do E. coli?
I don't know, just from the past few years prior to me being here, I looked at the SAPs and
Do they
They've
still
never
have an
tested
E.
for
coli monitor in the Weir's channel? They conveniently stopped using it once it was recognized that it was going to shut down the beach for the summer, so it went offline.
yeah,
But,
I don't know
are
if they
they
still
doing
have it
that?
there. I'm not sure about
I
that.
think they found too many positives, and then they found that it would shut down the beach.
So we're talking about rivers,
Yes.
Yeah.
okay,
But-
tributaries.
Mhm.
I don't think we need to do E. coli. And they may not do it because the lab isn't certified to do E. coli. E. coli requires, it's a bacteriological
But
analysis.
this is the stuff that they went for on Waukee when they started to bring septic systems into compliance.
But on the
There's-
lake, right?
on
Not the
the-
tributaries,
Waukee,
right?
a river that flows into Winnipesaukee. Just where they were having
Oh, I thought that was,
issues on
I
it.
thought it was the lake they did it on.
No, we saw that also,
Okay.
but it came out of these studies here that they did on Waukee. We saw it afterwards,
Right.
but the studies on Waukee is how they're bringing homeowners into compliance.
On the lake, the septic system's on the lake.
That's what
Yeah,
not the river. Right,
all of it came from the same source.
right. At the head,
But
yes.
if it hasn't been done for a while, wouldn't hurt to request, see if they do have the capability.
So why don't you find out how much it costs for E. coli? I
Okay.
don't think we need to do E. coli on every tributary,
Right,
because some of the tributaries just flow out of the woods. And they
Yeah.
don't flow through areas where there are septic systems, like the ones over in Southdown. Those aren't septic systems, those.
But it's an
they're
interesting study,
sewers.
because Giardia is in fact
Oh.
an E. coli.
Mm-mm.
Giardia is not.
No, Giardia is a parasite.
From excess beaver poop in
That's right. Moose,
and that's not E. coli?
no,
Oh.
E. coli is a bacteria. But you still should.
See what you learn when you go
so
downtown?
we can swim in moose poop, but not human poop.
What?
Learn
That's
something
right.
every
That's
day.
right.
So I know this is offbeat a little bit, but so did the city back off on limits to the number of people that are going to Weir's Beach? Like, didn't I read, like, last fall, that the city was looking at really cracking down on their management of the beach, and people started pushing back on that, saying you can't do that?
I don't know anything about that, but that would be Parks. I can talk to Amy, see.
No, don't waste your time on that, then I can follow up on that as a individual, because it's not.
Yeah, I think
necessarily
Amy
to
would
this.
probably know the
Okay.
most about the maintenance there and
Okay,
all that.
thank you.
So what about lakes? Are we gonna do sampling the deep water and shallow water in the lake?
So I have been emailing Bob Craycraft, to try and set up a time frame. I gave him the same time frame as the VRAP program, where I think we would wanna do once a month from May to September or so. I haven't heard back from him about specific scheduling, but that I believe is $12 for each sample. And he would also be willing, I know some of you have worked on the deep water testing, but I didn't do it at all last summer, so he said he'd be willing to come out and do the first one with us and just show us all the equipment and things like that. Because our equipment also hasn't been used for, 2 years now, so I think he wants to double check and make sure everything would be working. So I'm working with him on that. I don't know if we'll be ready to go by May, but I'm hoping so.
Okay, so we're looking for somebody to, bring us up to date. So I might be able to get somebody else from Winnisquam to come and do that if Bob can't do it.
Oh, like the training aspect of it?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they do it on Winnisquam. There's a few people that do it,
Okay.
so. But Bob's a really good guy. If we can get him, that would be
He's
great.
done, yeah, he did it once for us before.
Right. And is the water department gonna take us out in their boat?
Yeah, I just need to, once we know when we would like to schedule them for, I just need to contact them and see when they're gonna go out. I think he said they usually go out midweek, like at least once a week in the summer, so.
Okay.
I don't know why, but when you said that, I flashed to The Godfather. You're gonna take me out in my boat?
You gonna bring me back in your
That's
boat?
that's the question.
And it would be good if we could make sure that OPG does some testing this year, whether it's through that preservation committee or,
I'll reach out to them and see if they have any plans for any testing.
well, he's supposed to call me when he gets into town,
Okay.
so.
Okay, good. I don't think OPG's been done for a long time.
Right.
We got the latest, we got last year's VRAP report for the tributaries. And I looked at it quickly, and the only thing that we don't comply, we don't meet the state standard on is
pH, I think.
pH.
And part of me, I'm gonna be honest, I think at least one of the times we messed up with the meter. So one of those values was not accurate, for sure. I think the meter needs to sit for a lot longer than we let it at one point, so,
And I don't know what we can do about pH,
yeah, I'm not sure.
other than
I feel like
adding
all the other,
lime to the,
yeah,
The forest.
okay. Any other business?
oh, I do have one more. So Wes Anderson from DPW came by and talked to me today. On Gerard Road near Winter Street, there is a property owner whose retaining wall is falling down. It wasn't built properly. Frost moved it, and the plows in this winter supposedly damaged it. So the property owner and the city are going 50-50 on fixing the wall. Part of the wall will be in the 75-foot buffer of Jewett Brook. It's just a replace in kind, but Wes wanted to know if you guys would like to have them come talk to it. The city does not need to follow their own ordinance, so they don't need a CUP or anything like that, but he said if you guys want to talk about the project, he could probably come in and talk about it. Or I could, write up a report on what he says and send it out to everybody.
There's the management plan, is it a management plan? The report for Jewett Brook. which I think you're aware of. I mean, I think one of the things that came out of those meetings was because there's so many small property owners, and everybody is uncomfortable with the concept that they don't want to lose any of their property, so that's kind of why they're doing the walls and all that, but they also don't really want to embrace the idea that potentially what they're doing to armor their property could be making the Jewett Brook ecosystem less friendly and causing even more erosion than, so I'm just wondering if this isn't an opportunity to kind of revisit stream best management practices for stream, and if anything, if there's any public discussions about this or whatever, that we kind of bring that to the fore, that there are ways of living on a stream like Jewett Brook that don't necessarily require armoring it to not lose your portion of your property to erosion. Where I'm going with this is if one landowner has this kind of response from the city, then you may also find a lot of other people want you to fix a wall where maybe the wall isn't the best management for that.
Yeah, I'm not sure the specific property that he's referring
it-
to. So.
I'm aware of Gerard Street, but I'm not exactly sure which specific property.
Yeah, I was gonna say, does it border the brook, the wall, or is it just in front of their property near the
I
brook?
think it's just in front of their property near the brook. I did not get the impression that it was along the brook,
Okay.
but part of it will go. I think he said the closest, yeah, I think he said the closest section of the wall would be like 15 feet from the brook at least.
Okay.
So, when I first moved to this area, I went to a meeting that Rick DeMark chaired dealing with Gunstock Brook and the landowners. And the meeting was like a public information, help us make a decision kind of meeting where, and I don't remember who Rick was representing, but anyway, he presented that, there were several ways to protect your land from being eroded away by a brook, one of which was to armor it, and there, here are the downsides of that, and anyway, there were several. Put it in pipes and on in this. And the landowners decided that what they would do is plant at the edge of the brook, plant shrubs and shrubs mostly, to hold the soil. And he actually had a demonstration where a landowner who had a pool that was being threatened, instead of cutting the grass all the way down to the edge of the stream, planted shrubs and protected his land. So I wonder if the way to address Jewett Brook is to have a public discussion presenting options to hard armoring your land, and here are the kinds of shrubs you could use that don't grow real tall, and.
Yeah, I think, so I know Luke Powell did that when that report first came out, but enough time has passed now and enough landowners have changed hands, that
Right.
that's probably a good idea. And also, Dean, I wanted to remind you about, we got that call, I think it was Overland, the Meadowbrook portion down on the south end of town, where that gentleman, that road just ends and the brook is right there.
Oh, yeah.
And that, so there's another situation where.
That's Durkee Brook.
Durkee Brook, thank you, I thought it was Meadow, but, that's potentially another landowner who's just like, look, the plow is
Right.
dumped everything in, and it keeps getting shorter, this section of road keeps getting shorter and shorter because.
And I think at the next meeting, if we can discuss what Patrick is finding in terms of, that was one of the problem poor points, P-O-U-R points, was Durkee Brook.
Yeah.
And, there aren't any big streams, but there are little streams. and they meander, and people don't want them to meander, so we hard armor, and they take out the other side instead of our side, you know, but I think if we could start to talk about, some of those poor points that are
Yeah,
important.
I'll reach out to him, see if I can get just like he's making maps and cartography for us right now, but I'll see if I can just get like a really simple preliminary one to share with you guys to show some of I think we've picked 5 poor points, which is basically the spot on the map where he's seeing what the micro basin is for, you know, what streams and stuff are contributing to it. So I can get like a preliminary map for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that would be good, because one of the areas is obviously Jewett Brook, and we've been looking at where Jewett Brook comes down and goes along, Stafford Square, goes under, you know, goes through that moat.
Yeah.
That moat, I mean, you know, is partially full of sediment. And how would that stream flow if that sediment was removed? And I talked to Wes about it, and Wes said, well, that's not really the problem. The problem is upstream.
From upstream, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
but the problem in terms of the sediment that is in that moat is that when you get down to where it dumps into the Winnipesaukee River, there is a pile of silt and sand. And it's, you know, it's obviously coming from Jewett Brook.
Yeah.
So if we could, anyway, so, okay, sorry. All right. Liaison,
So, you all saw a couple of projects from Southdown, and I just wanted to mention this because there are still some lots that are left. Obviously, they're filled with water, but it is still something that could come before the board. And I thought it was very educational last night. Southdown we got some emails from Mr. Jim Ryan, who is in charge of the association. And what a landowner should do is get their proposal, have everything ready to go, and go in front of the association. And get that approved first. Then when you have their blessing, then you go to the city. So some people are doing it in reverse order, or they're trying to change their plans, like we had a change in the house size and so what was interesting is that one of the emails did say that they can deny it.
who can deny it?
The association.
Right.
So when you buy in there, you need to read all the fine print and look, there are rules and regulations to make it look nice and appealing. The other thing that was really interesting is that if they have drainage issues and we did get phone calls, there were complaints about drainage, that's all Southdown. That's not the city. So that's what they pay their association for.
But it still comes into Laconia's water. Now, I know that Southdown Recreation Commission likes to think they're the be-all, end-all, but in the end of it, out of there, it still impacts our waters. So while they're being the be-all, end-all, they have to look downstream.
So hopefully all the phone calls because he was listening in and he could hear everything, so all these complaints, the people were told, you need to go to your association
So
and get them fixed.
what I'm wondering, Stacy, is if the association is keeping up to speed with what the city's ordinances or requirements are. So in other words, I don't know who the people on the association who sits on that commission or committee, and if they are aware of that, are they up to speed enough on what those people are gonna come face to the planning board? They may approve something, but then they come to the planning board, and the planning board's no. So I'm thinking there needs to be greater communication between the association and the city.
Well, and they admitted that the development was built poorly, so I don't, that's their excuse, but I don't know if there's gonna be, so perhaps with this lot being developed, if it goes through, it could help out some of the issues.
And of course, I'm not,
Who
it's
knows?
not your responsibility to tell the association to do anything, so I appreciate that, I'm sorry. No, you know what I mean, it's like, you know, hey, get online with what the city's doing, that's what I was saying, was it's not your responsibility to tell them that, so.
Well, they're not from here, so it
So-
doesn't matter.
I lived in both Southdown and Long Bay. And
Did you follow the rules?
I followed the
He tried.
rules. That was
Did,
the,
he
that
came in
was-
front of us.
I'm firstborn, I can follow rules. I may choose not to follow them, but I can follow them.
If I
That was exactly the problem, was that people would come to, and I was on the building committee for Long Bay, and they would come and say, we have the city's approval. I said, I don't care. You don't have our approval as an association to do what you want to do. So maybe the answer is, when an applicant comes from Southdown or Long Bay, do you have the association's approval? If you do not come here, because we will not entertain anything
Well, it's
that
a
hasn't
waste
been
of their
approved.
time.
What?
It's a waste of their time
Everybody's time, yeah.
and money too, if they haven't gone and gotten,
But they manipulate the situation by saying, the city has approved this. The city doesn't have the jurisdiction, you have to go to your association first.
But,
That's
and
civics
I'll weigh
101.
in here for ZBA, having learned this particularly the hard way. When they come in from those communities, that's the first question. Have you done it? So it's not always someone circumventing it. Those questions get asked, at least at ZBA level. Certainly, we would ask here also,
Right.
has it been done?
And you're right, it is poorly built, but that's neither here nor there, that's not our problem. So, okay. Any other liaison
that was
information?
my, educational night.
I got a liaison one.
Ooh,
If
good.
you don't wanna do it, this is something you were there also. Master Plan Steering Committee, we are in, and Wes Anderson came in to, speak to us. And the questions from Mr. Trefethan were, do we have the ability, if we increase our density in certain ways, more rooftops, this and that, do we have the ability to deal with it downstream and still have clean water? And Wes spoke upon, and I'm going to fail here, anybody who's better than me on this can say what it is. It's a series of compliances that is headed northwards in certain communities on how we deal with our wastewater and water runoff. Wes was adamant that if we increase roof space and excess flow off the properties, that in our aged and ancient drainage system, we won't have the ability to deal with it. So he says you either have to deal with upgrading everything downstream, or you deal with it upstream and retaining the outflow on the property, creating rain gardens, and cleaning the water before it gets downstream. Either you pay for it at the bottom, or you pay for it at the top.
This was the discussion we had, though, when we were reducing green space. This was exactly the discussions.
This is how it comes around again. And this is why it gets talked about, is so that you have a reason as to why or not. But once again, I would say that it would be beneficial if we could look at some stuff that showed you what it was with the setbacks in the green space, because you're going to find it's not that far off.
So this is exactly what Patrick is dealing with in his study at Antioch, exactly what he's studying. And what he's going to do a build-out analysis, and what's it gonna look like? So, as an example, one of the pour points, the critical pour points, is at the bottom of Pine Street. Now, I'm not a wastewater guy. I'm not an engineer. But I drove down Pine Street. It is absolutely understandable. If you just look at the topography, everything, all the side streets pour into Pine Street. Pine Street pours down, gets to, it's not Union Avenue,
South
whatever
Main.
it is.
South Main.
South Main.
Yeah. And it's a bowl. It's perfect. It's perfect. So all the rain that's gonna fall on the streets that lead into Pine are coming down Pine, and you gotta collect it in the bowl. So you're absolutely right, and it's cheaper to pay up than it is to pay down.
That was just what I learned when I went to the meeting.
Yeah, good.
I wish
That's
they
great.
would video those.
I think,
Well,
gotta be
maybe
so-
not.
I think Wes said at that meeting that he's gonna do a lot more research on what those proposals would change.
Right.
Yeah, so I think he's gonna come back with more info at that meeting.
I will be at the next one.
I also remember talking with Dean Trefethan, and I think he wrote it down, I don't know where it went, but in terms of phasing in those different proposals so that you could see incrementally what your impacts were before you got to, if you did it all at once, and then all of a sudden you have a catastrophic surge on this old system, but if you do it incrementally, you can start seeing where your stressors are before the
Right.
cities.
I talked to Dean, and Dean said that, first there's going to be a decision made on what to do.
Yeah,
And then he is going to come here and present that to us so that we can talk about it. After he comes here, then he goes to the planning board, and there's a public hearing before it's, anyway. So it's, we got a number of steps to go through, but it's going to be, I think that, when's Patrick supposed to give us his report?
His classes will end in May, so, but he can work on it later than that. I'm not exactly sure,
Yeah,
what his final date is, but
probably June.
yeah, that's kinda what it's sounding like right now. He finished the first analysis, he's moving on to the second one. So,
Okay. Any other liaison information? What about staff?
I said all mine, I'm all good.
Okay. Anybody have anything else?
Just that the loons are back on Opeachy, and I believe I heard the osprey today also.
The osprey, I have seen the osprey, they're on the nest.
At the school?
Over at Ahern.
Well, this
They're on the
is-
nest.
This is at the school, this is on the electrical tower,
Oh, good,
yeah,
good.
I'm pretty sure. And they worked on it for the last 2 weeks, they worked on the base of that tower,
I think,
pouring more cement and welding and
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
and I think the loons have already laid their eggs. I mean, not the loons, the osprey have already laid their eggs in the nest because there was an osprey sitting on the nest yesterday.
I could hear the
Yours
words.
are out hunting now.
I had a young osprey come in, this was told to me when I came back by my wife. And she was in the backyard this morning and flinched, she saw something big come in. And it landed in the big dead pine tree that's right on the point. And the dogs were making noise and the bird was sitting there observing everything. And it went into the pond and Linda said, I don't know if it was a fish, it looked like there were legs dangling as it went out. And it flew, she couldn't see it in the binoculars, she dropped them and the thing was right over her head and showed her what it got and then flew off. And she's like, go osprey.
I've seen the osprey over at Ahern pick up either a muskrat or a beaver.
Oh, yes. I come for never mind.
Looking for a hot meal.
I need to adjourn.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Oh.
Second?
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right.
I didn't even